Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Burstner. It's a Burstner Marano T595 is the actual model and make. It's based on the Fiat Ducato chassis, and we're over here on the left hand side for the engine battery. We've got your air conditioning filling points just here, brake fluid, power steering fluid, and your engine oil just from here. The engine oil dipstick is the yellow topped one just down here in front of it. We've got your engine coolant over in this reservoir on the right, fuses and relays, air filter, and your washer fluid inside this one just here. The chassis plate for the van is just on this little cover here, and we've got Fiat 210 is the white colour on the cab. To get to the diesel filling point, we're going to push on the left hand side of this little flap. Now that'll allow us to sort of open this up and get to your diesel filling point. You will need your ignition key to take the filling point out. Inside the passenger door, not got much to show in there, to be honest. There's nothing pressing that I need to show you in there at all. The next locker we're going to get to on this near side is going to be the toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette. So to take the actual cassette out, we lift up on the little yellow tab just here and pull the cassette towards us. You'll then be able to take the cassette all the way out, like so, and it's really simple from there, really. All you need to do is twist this little thing over around to the left, take the cap off, which is where you drain it out from, and then to actually drain it out, obviously just tip it up and pour it out from there, and hold down on this little yellow button just here. So literally lifting it up, holding down the little yellow button and pouring it out from there is how you empty it out. You'll then put a little bit of your blue fluid back inside the cassette through this hole, swish it around a little bit, and then push it all the way back in until you hear a click, like that. You've got a freshwater flush on there as well, so you've got no separate flush fluids to worry about above there. And that is the toilet cassette. Nice and easy. Next locker along is your gas locker. So we've got a 6 kilo propane bottle in there. We've got, by the looks of it, a new pigtail hose. 2024, yep. So you've got till 29 to replace that pigtail hose. You haven't got to do anything with the regulator at all. All you need to do is turn the bottle on and off as and when you need it. So to turn the bottle on, if I just zoom in a little bit, to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left, and to turn it off, we go all the way down clockwise around to the right. Other than that, it's really nice and straightforward in there. You just need to make sure that you've got nothing inside the lockers covering up these holes, these dropout holes, and that the bottles are nice and secure for when you're driving. Also make sure that you turn the bottle off before you start driving as well. For obvious reasons, you can't have anything running on gas whilst you're driving, and you need to have that gas turned off. If you are in a car accident and the gas is switched on, the very last thing that you want, or anybody wants, is 30 millibars of gas pumping through to the inside. So please make sure that you turn that off before you start driving every time. So this is your electric hookup point. So you've got that little point in there, as you can see, and there's a little lip just above it there, which is what will hold on to that hookup so that it doesn't fall out. So that is what that is there. The window is looking in good condition. No nasty bits and pieces on the bodywork there. All looking very nice all the way around. Underneath here at the back on the near side, you will see some water coming out through this little drain here. So this is our wastewater drain off point. So you've got a handle for that just there. And that is obviously in the open position at the moment because all the water is draining out of the wastewater tank. There's only a little bit left in it, which is why it's dribbling. And then we've got just next door to that, up here, we've got your freshwater drain off point there as well with the green handle. So when it comes to draining out your fresh and wastewater tanks, come to this rear near side and you'll be able to get to those really nice and easily. So at the back of the van, we've got your freshwater filling point. So the actual cap itself comes out literally just by pushing in and round to the left in order to open it up, in and round to the right to get it to the locking position. You would then be able to put your key in and lock that barrel, and you'll then just be able to spin it and you won't be able to take it out. So you need to unlock it first before you can push in and round to the left, like so. You've got a 2-bike rack, as you can see there. And we've also got this locker just underneath here, which obviously is obstructed by the bike rack a little bit, but you do have good amount of storage inside there. The jack and wheel brace kit for the van is inside that little felt wrap thing there. And the reason that they take those out on the Burstners is because they've normally got your power supply unit underneath the driver's seat. So just sort of bear that in mind as well. So you've got this little vent just here. This is to do with your heating. So if you've got the heating and hot water on, you will feel hot air coming out through the bottom of this. You'll also see a little bit of condensation forming at the bottom of here, and that is completely normal. So you will see that a little bit of water will drop down from the bottom here. Perfectly normal. Doesn't mean there's anything leaking. Just means that you've got condensation building up from the fact that it's on. You've got your full-size wind-out Omnistore awning above the door just there as well. So that has been taken out and lubricated as part of the habitation check. These two vents just here that say Dometic on them, these are both to do with your fridge. So if you did have the fridge lit up on gas, like I do at the moment, again, you will get some condensation forming on things around it, but your hot air will be coming out through the top right-hand side of this vent. So that's how you can double check that it's definitely working. Put your hand just like this, and you'll feel hot air coming out if it is working. And that's on gas. So that's all of the bits and pieces around the outside, apart from the fact that you've got this nice new lock on the door here as well. It's a Fiamma lock, frame lock they call them, so it sort of attaches here inside the door frame. But yeah, there we go. So inside the van, I'll just run you through the cab. So being a Burstner, you sort of come to expect a few nice, little extra bits and pieces, which you have got. So over on the door itself, you've got the electric windows and the electric adjusting mirrors, which is something they don't all have. You've got the ASR switch, which is another thing they don't all have. That's all to do with the traction control, I believe. Hazard warning lights from this switch just here in the middle. All of your heater controls on this one below, and you've also got the air conditioning, which again is something, especially on this particular age of cab, just before they changed over to the newer one, is something that they very rarely have. So it's always a good thing to have that air conditioning button down there. Yeah, so as I said, under the front seat just here that I'm sat on, you'll have your power supply unit. So if you did need to get to that for any reason, you can do. There you go. So above the door, as soon as you walk in, this is your sort of control panel area. So this is the kind of, I don't know, the brain of the vehicle, if you like. This is what's going to tell the vehicle what to do and when to do it. So over on the right hand side, it's really straightforward to use. You've basically got a main 12-volt isolator, so you can press up to turn it on and you'll get the little green light, and down to switch it off. Well, I'm not going to turn it off because I've got a few things running at the moment, so I don't need it to be off. If you had the electric hookup plugged in, you would have this little symbol here coming on, and that'll be telling you that the electric hookup is in and it's working. The next one over is our water pump switch. So if that's in the up position where it is now, then that means that the water pump will be allowed to turn on. If you turn it down, it means that the water pump has now been switched off, and the taps won't turn the water pump on and off. Above it, where it says Strom, I don't know what it literally relates to from German, but I do know that what it means is that that's your amp meter, basically. So all power is sort of, especially from leisure batteries and things like that, you need to read it in amps. And so the amps is basically what power is being drawn and what current is being drawn at any one time. So at the moment, you can see that that little level is just into the red, only just, but it is into the red. So what that means is that there's more power being drawn from the battery than there is being put in. So at this rate, where it is there, just very, very slightly over to the left, I mean, that's very, very slight. But after a little while, or after some time, that battery will then go flat. Okay, so that's what that means. That's not something to worry about. It's perfectly normal for it to be down into the red. That's just telling you that you're using the battery. And of course you're going to be using the battery. That's what it's there for. So it's normal for it to be there in the red a little bit. If you were hooked up on the mains, I would then expect it not to be down into the red, because they should have enough power going into the battery that it's not actually using any power going down into the red. It should be up into the green a little bit. Okay, so that's all that means. That's not your actual battery indicator. That's just telling you how much power is being drawn from the battery at one time. In the middle, we've got your timers and things like that. You don't have to use those if you don't want to, but you've got two little buttons in the middle there to change the time. Over on the left, we have got your battery level indicators and your fresh and wastewater level indicators. So if I press up on this one on the right, it's showing us our fresh water level, which we can see on the bottom scale is telling us 1/4 of a tank full. The bottom one is still on the bottom scale, but it's showing us empty down on the left-hand side of that blue scale. On the left-hand side, we've got your battery voltage indicators. So now we're looking at the top gauge there. So if I press up on here, it's showing us just shy of 13 volts in the engine battery and 12.5 volts or just over in the leisure. So with batteries, any 12-volt battery, like an engine battery or a leisure battery, a resting battery voltage should be around 12 to 12.2 volts. Okay, so the fact that it's above 12 volts is absolutely perfect. And actually you can see there that the scale shows you that down at 11 is when you're going to go into the red, which is absolutely correct. So your leisure battery is designed to be able to be drawn power from, and it is designed to go a little bit down and a little bit up. So if you're, you know, just sort of, what I'm trying to say is don't laser focus yourself on this little scale here. If you find that it's going down into the red, it's normal, but just make sure that you keep your eye on that leisure battery voltage there. If the leisure battery voltage starts going really far down and into that red scale, then you need to do something about it, like put the hookup cable into it for a while or start the engine up for a little bit, which will charge the leisure battery as well. But as I say, it's totally normal to be drawing power from the leisure battery. That's what it's there for. So into the back end of the van, we've got a couple of things. So we've got the 3-burner hob at the top just here. Now this has no ignition on it. It's not got the ignition on this one. So you will need a long reach lighter of some sort to light any one of these three up. It is as easy as literally just push in and round to the left for whichever burner you want to use whilst using your igniter. But yeah, you do need that there to make it work. Other thing to mention on those is that you do need to make sure that you if you've been using all of them, then allow them all to cool down. But even if you've just been using one, allow the burner to cool right down before you start trying to put the lid down. Now this is obviously designed to get hot, but you know, regardless of that fact, it will, if it's really hot underneath and it's cold on top, the glass will shatter. So allow it to cool down before you put the lid down is a really, 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 really handy tip, because you know, it's not the end of the world, because we can get a hold of these bits of glass. They're getting more and more difficult, but we can normally get hold of them, but it's just a real mess when it happens. So just trust me on that one. Allow them to cool down. Obviously we've got the sink here as well, which I'll run you through a bit more in just a minute. In fact, what I'll do is I'll run you through this now. So with the sink, you might not think there's anything to it, but to be fair, there are some things that I need to explain to you about it. So with the sink, you've got something really, really important that you need to know about. The boiler itself, when you're going to use the boiler to get the water hot, you need to make sure that you've got enough water inside of it. So with the boiler, it's a little bit different because there's no gauge on the boiler or sort of scale indicator to tell you how much water is inside of it. So to do that, to make sure that you know exactly how much water is inside, all you need to do is a couple of things. First of all, make sure that you've got some water in your fresh tank. So press up on here. Yes, we've got 1/4 of a tank. Turn your water pump switch on. And then just come over to the tap here and draw the water through on the cold side. So good pressure, round to the left for the hot side. Same again, good pressure, and then turn it off. So doing that and just seeing what I've seen there, making sure that you've got water coming through on the cold and on the hot side, has proven to me straight away that yes, the boiler is full of water. If you try and light the boiler up and get the water hot without checking that there's water inside of it first, and you light it up when it's empty, you will run into some serious problems where you're going to probably overheat the boiler. So it's really important that you double check that it's definitely full of water before you start trying to light the boiler up. Once you have done that, which takes seconds, you can go ahead and use the boiler as, however you want to, and completely forget about that. All right, it's just something, it's a bit of a fail-safe thing to do. Just double check that it's definitely full just by drawing the water through the tap. All right. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and use the tap as however you want to. But I'd like to mention that because, as I say, you might be trying to work out how to check that the boiler's full one day and realise there's no indicator to tell you, there's no scale or anything on that. So just making sure the water's coming through nicely at the tap proves to you that the boiler is full. On that same note, without trying to sort of chew your ear off about it, you might be thinking, well, why do I need to, why would I need to check that the boiler's full up of water? How do I drain it out if that's the case? So down here, I'll just take these cushions out. Sorry, I just should have done this before the video, but just take these top cushions out and then I can show you properly. So if we remove this cushion just here, we have got this nice big locker, which will stay open. So this is the boiler itself. This is your Trumatic or Truma boiler. Down to the left-hand side of that boiler, it's probably a little bit dark, but you can just about see a little red tab. Okay, so that little red tab there is the boiler drain-off point. And if you push that little tab down, you'll drain all the water out from inside that boiler, and it'll all just literally just drain out onto the floor. So the only reason you would ever do that is if it was coming up to winter and you wanted to winterize the van, you would push that little red button down and all the water from inside there would drain out onto the ground. The other thing to point out on that particular one, those red ones, is that is actually an auto drain off valve. So that will automatically, or it should automatically, drop all of the water out of that boiler when it gets down to a certain temperature, which is about 3 or 4 degrees. And that's 3 or 4 degrees inside the van, by the way. Okay. So if you find that when you come to and that's the reason why you've got to double check at the tap, by the way, because if you come to the van one day, don't realise that the boiler has drained itself out and you go to light it up, even though it's empty, you're going to have some problems. So if you find that you can't get any water coming through the tap there on the hot side, double check that your drain is lifted up and then go ahead and carry on leaving the tap open. But yeah, there you go. So I'll put that back down, put that back in there, and then we can carry on. It's always quite satisfying when all the cushions go in nicely. Right, so rest of the appliances on the van. We've got the 3-way fridge. It works 3 different ways, as you can probably tell by the name of it. So you've got gas, which is where it is now. You've got 240 volt, and you've got 12 volt. So the only 2 ways, or the only 2 energies that will get this fridge cold from scratch or from hot are the gas or the mains. Okay, so if you find that, let's just say, for example, you're going to go on holiday tomorrow morning, you need to go out and pre-cool this fridge overnight, or at least a good few hours before you leave, either on the gas or the mains, and then switch over to 12 volt just for whilst you're driving. So the reason for that is that the gas is the quickest one, really. Normally it's the quickest one to get the fridge cold. The 240 volt is pretty good as well, but it will just take about a little bit longer. But they are the only 2 ways that will actually cool the fridge down. The 12 volt is only really for holding the temperature inside the fridge as you're driving. So you obviously can't have the gas turned on when you're driving. You can't have a mains cable plugged into the van whilst you're driving. So the 12 volt is just there to keep it cold as you drive. But as I say, it's not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So if you don't pre-cool the fridge before you leave and you just switch it over to 12 volt for half an hour when you're driving, it will not be cold when you get to where you're going. So it's really important to make sure that you pre-cool it before you leave. To actually light it up on the gas, you literally just turn it over to the gas and it will light up by itself. And then you've got a temperature gauge over on the right hand side. But yeah, that is really it for the fridge. It is very, very straightforward and easy to use. Below the sink just here, we've got the oven and grill. So the oven and grill itself, again, you've got no ignition on here, okay? So you do need a long reach lighter to light the oven and grill up. So the grill sits along the top just here, and the oven obviously sits down the back. And it's literally just a case of push in and round to the right for the grill whilst with the ignition on there, and push in and round to the left for the oven. It's as easy as that. So I've got a nice big wardrobe in here with a big full-size table. Awning winder is in here as well, and all of your paperwork for the van is in that brown box. Ooh. Shut the bigger side first. Okay, so down underneath this offside settee we have got the boiler controls. I'm just going to get down so I can show you properly. So sometimes these can be explained in a bit of a tricky way, and some people get a little bit confused with them, but I'm going to try and explain them in a really simple way, because they are a very simple unit to use. So I'm going to go back to the middle there, and the lights are going to go out. So that is just telling us that the boiler is completely off. Nothing at all is happening inside that boiler. So if you are wanting to use the hot water, okay, let's just say it's summertime, you don't want the heating on, but you do want the hot water on. We would go up 1 for 40 degrees or up 2 for 60. And that is literally all you have to do. It will light up on gas and it will get the water that you've got inside the boiler up to either 40 or 60 degrees. Okay, so that's how you use it on the hot water only. Back to the middle, turn it off. If it is winter time and you want to heat the van up, but you don't want to get the water hot, you can go down once to the little flame symbol there, and that will be using your boiler for the heating only. Okay, so that's how you use it on heating only, and that's basically just going to get the van warm, and the little temperature gauge in the middle here is going to allow you to sort of adjust it as and when you need to. If we go down to the bottom, all the way at the bottom, that's going to be our heating and hot water at the same time, and that's just literally going to, you know, get 60 degrees of hot water, and it will start pumping hot air around to the vents. So it really is as easy as that. Up 1 or 2 goes for your hot water only, down once is your heating, down 2 is heating and hot water. It's no more complicated than that. So back to the middle, turns the entire system off, and that is it. If you find that you turn the heating off and the little green symbol inside there carries on flashing, it's perfectly normal. It just means that the system is cooling itself down, and it will stop flashing after about 20 seconds or 30 seconds. So I think that the last thing I need to run you through is the bathroom. So if we have a little look in here, the bathroom itself, I very rarely spend much time in the bathrooms because they are really self-explanatory. You've got the shower up here, which is literally a hot and cold tap from there. You've got the sink from there, which is a hot and cold tap from there. And the toilet. So the toilet's normally the only bit that I run through. And also, just by the way, you have got a little vent down there for the heating. I'll just open that up. So these Thetford toilets are unbelievably simple to use. You've got a little blue button on the left just here. which will pump around your flush fluid. Once you've used the toilet and pumped the flush fluid around, you've got a little grey handle at the bottom here, which when you pull towards you, will drain it into the cassette. When you push it back, it closes that flap back over and the cassette's empty. Sorry, not empty, closed. So yeah, that is all you need to do. You've got a little light that will come on up there as well when your cassette needs emptying. But that's it. There's nothing more technical about it than that. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything I've missed out. But if there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.